what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I've been getting a lot of questions in my Instagram DMs and in the Freelance Friday Club and in comments of these videos about YouTube, about starting a YouTube channel, using it for business. So I thought let's do a whole video all about it. So I asked you all on Instagram to ask me questions, and here is what you wanted to know. How do you start YouTube, and what equipment is needed to start? So as for how to start YouTube, I'm not going to go over that. It's pretty simple. You just need a Google account. I'm sure you can go onto YouTube and there'll be a step-by-step walkthrough somewhere. It's been like 6 or 7 years since I started an account, so I don't remember the exact process, but it's relatively easy. You don't need any like credentials or anything. Anybody, any random person can start a YouTube account. As far as the equipment to start, I do want to talk about that. My advice is the equipment that you already have access to is the best equipment for you. Don't go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of camera and audio equipment if you aren't for sure that this is really what you want to do, because you need to test it out first. You need to do a test run. You need to see if you like creating content, if you're good at it, if your audience responds to it the way that you want them to, etc. So honestly, if you have one of these, if you have an iPhone, you're probably good. I'm gonna leave a couple of recommendations for a little iPhone tripod and a little iPhone microphone that you might want to invest in, maybe 50 bucks or so, just to get the best quality out of your iPhone. But honestly, I use this all the time for B-roll in my vlogs, and I could easily film a video like this on my iPhone. So start with that, and then you can kind of upgrade from there. I'll also leave in the description box some of my favorite equipment pieces, but I upgraded slowly over time. I started with a DSLR, and then I was like, okay, let me get a cooler lens, and then, okay, let me get a cooler microphone. Let me get a cooler lighting kit. Over time you can upgrade as you need. Don't go out and run and buy it all at once. What should you focus on when you're in the under 1,000 subscribers club? So I'm a big believer that, well, first of all, it's just like any other marketing funnel, right? So you really need to get people into the top of the funnel, the awareness stage, meaning you need people to know who you are. So produce content that is discoverable. Discoverable content is that content that people are actively searching for. So how to start a YouTube channel, or how to use Trello, or how to become a virtual assistant, or whatever it is that you specialize in and whatever it is that you're trying to become known for. Find topics that are going to be discoverable to start creating about. Now, you do also want to create what I call community content, which is content for your community. And I didn't coin these terms, by the way. I believe Tim Schmoyer from the YouTube channel Video Creators, I think he introduced me to those terms. So he's a good resource if you want to grow a YouTube channel. I watched a lot of him when I was first starting out. But anyway, you want to balance out your discoverable content with community content. So a lot of you watch my series on here where I vlog my weeks. It's called A Week in My Business. That's really for you guys. Like, random people are not searching for that content 9 times out of 10. So you want to have a good mix of the two so that you're not coming across as like too salesy and like your only goal is to get subscribers and to get people to find you. But I would put a higher emphasis on that discoverable content just when you're first starting out. How to grow an engaged following on YouTube. So YouTube is a different platform than, Instagram. I'm not getting thousands of comments on a video. Even if I get a lot of views, I mean, still a couple hundred comments is kind of a lot for even a big video of mine. So you have to just measure the right things, I think is key. I understand my buyer's journey. I am measuring success on YouTube based on email signups, actually, because I have a link in almost all of my YouTube videos to download a lead magnet that adds people to my email list. So if that list is growing, I know that my YouTube videos are performing. I don't base success on views or comments or likes or thumbs down or whatever. It's pretty much off of my email list. So measure the right things, I think is key, because you don't want to be like, I don't know, clickbaiting, let's say. Here's a good example, clickbait. I could get a lot more views on my video if I really wanted to by posting scandalous titles, scandalous thumbnails, really how to get rich in 5 days, like stuff like that. But people wouldn't believe me when they got to the video and they found out that I was selling them garbage. And so therefore they wouldn't be adding to my email list. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to understand which metrics are really in the engagements that you want to measure. And then once you do that, I think it's all about creating good content. I know it's like the simplest thing, but it's true. Create good content, engage with your audience that you do have. So even if it's only a few hundred people, respond to every comment, heart comments, like really make them feel special. Encourage people to turn on notifications. That does help with actually, getting your content seen. It's not the end of the world. Don't like harass people about it, but it does help. And talk to them. Okay, lots of editing questions, how to learn how to edit, and what makes it quicker, and how long does it take you to edit. So how to learn how to edit, go on YouTube. Honestly, just type in whatever tool you're gonna use. I personally use Final Cut Pro. I also learned how to edit on Premiere Pro. That's what I learned how to edit on in high school and college when I was editing. And I've also used iMovie. Those are all fine. It really is up to personal preference. They do a lot of the same things. iMovie's like the free version, so it's gonna have the least capabilities, but just choose what you like the best. I also do have an in-depth iMovie tutorial in my video content creation course, which I will link down below if anyone's interested. So I do have a tutorial on that. How long does it take you to edit? So I also think it's important for me to note my unfair advantage here is that I did go to school for this. So, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in school, but I technically have been editing videos for you guys over a decade. I started my first film class when I was like 16 or 17. And so I've been editing for my entire adult life, like 12 years, 13 years, something like that. So I just want to put that out there that I've done this for a long time and it still takes me forever. So editing takes a long time, especially when you're first learning. For a video like this should be, in theory, pretty quick. 3 hours, 2 hours, in theory. A video like my Week in My Business series, those take a lot longer because I have to pick out music. There's just a lot more footage to go through. It's a lot more artsy. I try to be a little bit more creative and do like fun things here and there. So I would say those take like half a day, like 5 hours. And then a video like my social media marketing for beginners Instagram video, that was almost like a little mini documentary, if you will. So I was doing B-roll, I was doing screen shares, I was looking up a lot of stats and data and typing them onto the screen. That took me a good few days to edit. Not obviously 8 hours a day, like that's all I was doing. But yeah, I mean, I definitely give myself a few days to edit something that in depth. And then how do you make the process quicker? So I'm gonna say 2 things on this. Number 1, you might wanna outsource. If you are somebody like me who runs a business in addition to YouTube, like this isn't your full-time job, you're not just necessarily trying to bootstrap it, you might wanna outsource. Because it's a full-time job. It really is. If you don't have the funds for it, or you are just trying to fully become a YouTuber and you want to learn it, you'll develop little patterns and workflows. So like my Freelance Friday podcast episodes, those, if you notice, they all have a standard pattern. They all have the same title, the same, outro, the same graphic elements. I just literally copy and paste them onto the new episode and just it makes it a lot easier that way. So you kind of develop little mini templates, if you will, that are gonna help you a lot. And then just time, like over time, you just get really quick, learn the keyboard shortcuts. Please do not like click file, cut, no, learn the keyboard shortcuts for whatever program you use. That'll make it quick too. How do you choose what content to post? I just always have a lot of ideas. I think most creatives do. I'm always taking notes. This is sort of my workflow. I just idea dump all the time. Whenever an idea comes into my brain, I will put it into my notes app, I'll write it down on paper, I'll put it into Asana, I'll put it somewhere. And then I try, in an ideal world, I'd be doing this every week, but it's usually like every couple weeks. I'll go through all of those notes, compile them all, and then I'll go into YouTube and I'll start searching for those topics. And I have a browser extension called TubeBuddy. I'll leave that link down below. And what it does is it tells me the SEO potential for those different things. So if I have an idea to do like a day on my life, let's just say, that's really general. I'll type in a day in my life, and then it'll tell me, is that too specific? Is that not specific enough? And I'll be able to tweak the content a little bit from there and actually develop the full concept or the creative brief, if you will, based on that. So that's kind of how I determine what I'm gonna post. If I am stuck on ideas, which doesn't happen very often because like I said, my problem is actually implementation. That's where my bottleneck. It's definitely not ideas. But when I do run out of ideas, I read a lot of books. I, am talking to people all the time online. in my industry, outside of, in other industries too. Like right now I'm really into graphic design. I'm reading a lot of graphic design books and things like that. So you get inspiration from those things. Maybe, obviously I'm not a graphic designer, but I might say, okay, here are some graphic design tips for social media managers based on this book that I just read. I'll also just, like, this is one of my favorite books. It was just sitting on my coffee table. I'll take one of my favorite books like this. It's called Built to Sell, if anyone's curious. And I'll just like scroll to a random page, right? Okay, here we go. Page 31, Ted's tip number 6. Don't be afraid to say no to projects. That's a video idea right there. I can make a whole video without having read any more of the book, just talking about when to say no to freelance projects. Now, obviously you want to be careful. Please do not plagiarize. It's illegal, number one, but it's also just really rude. So don't copy other videos word for word. Don't just like copy this man's book, you know what I mean? But you can just scroll through things. I like to read magazines. I really miss being on airplanes, you guys, because I used to always buy Fast Company, Inc., Entrepreneur. Those were like 3 that I'd buy from my flights, and just scroll through and take notes. Like, oh, they're talking about green businesses, eco-friendly businesses. Is there a way that I can create content based off of that? And so on and so forth. So those are good places for inspiration, I guess. How do you give value away without giving away everything? So this is a question I get a lot. And I give a lot of stuff away, in my opinion. I feel like I give a lot of free content away, and I have no problem with that. I love it. There are people who have been with me since the very old school days of me making beauty and fashion videos. I love you guys. If you're one of them, comment down below, please. Who have never purchased anything though. There are some of those people who have went on to purchase every single offer that I made. And I love you both. There's always gonna be people who purchase, and there's always gonna be people who don't. And they're both valuable because the people who don't purchase are still helping with that engagement and helping my content get seen to potential customers and giving me video ideas and things like that. A couple things to keep in mind here. I'll keep this brief. No video is ever gonna replace you or me or anybody else. Having that one-on-one time or having that custom curriculum of a course that is made specifically for freelance social media managers or course creators or whatever it is not gonna be replaced by a broad general YouTube video. As much as I want this video to feel like I'm making this just for you, I technically made this for like 50,000 other people. So it's not gonna speak directly to you. And then it's also important to understand that people pay for convenience as well. Technically, if you watched all, 400 of my YouTube videos, would you have the same information as somebody who took a course of mine? Maybe, probably pretty close at least, but who the heck is gonna do that? Again, unless you've been with me for years and years and years. Most people haven't. Most people discovered me in the past 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. They don't have time. I don't have time, certainly, to watch 400 videos from anybody. I would rather pay a couple hundred or even a couple $1,000s to just get that information curated and packed neatly together for me. Think about Uber Eats. I know that I could save $10 at least in charges and tips and all that stuff by calling in my pizza order and getting my lazy butt into my car and getting it. But we pay the extra 10 or 15 bucks just so it can get delivered to our door. We can stay in our sweatpants, you know, stay cozy, get work done while we're waiting for it, and eat the pizza on our couch. So it's the same thing for a course or a paid product. It's convenient. And the last thing I'll say about this is I also don't give everything away for free. I'm not giving away a lot of like templates and things like that in YouTube videos. I might share, hey, I have a spreadsheet for tracking my income, but I'm not giving it out. I'm giving that to my coaching clients though, no questions asked. You know, I'm not giving every single piece of information or knowledge I share because some of it is just way too granular, or it's not gonna make a good one-to-many topic. Okay, and then the last two are a little bit juicier. How much money do you make on YouTube? I've made it no secret that you do not really make a lot of money from YouTube directly, or at least I don't. And I decided to just do some data pulling, and last year I made exactly $14,851 all year from YouTube ads. So that, you know, that's not a lot, right? It's just one small revenue stream. This is not my, when I say this is not my full-time job, I mean it, okay? But a couple things on this. Number one, almost all of my leads come from YouTube. So even though I technically only made $15,000 from YouTube directly, I owe a lot more to YouTube. I owe like all of my one-on-one coaching clients, almost all of my course sales, which add up to a whole lot more than $15,000. So you have to keep those things in mind. I also did some sponsorships. I'm pretty chill about sponsorships just because they add a lot of time onto the workflow. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that, but like the whole approval process and like they pay, like most sponsors pay like 60 days after you send the invoice. I'm like, I don't know. I have a whole beef with the influencer marketing industry, so maybe we'll talk about that in a different video, but I don't do a lot of sponsorships. But with that said, this year already, we're only in March, I've made $9,458, so almost $10,000. So I'm on track to make more than that $15,000 I made all of last year. So it can change, it does fluctuate. I don't get a salary. I'm not making like $40,000, $20,000, whatever per year from YouTube. It really varies. So that's my truth, you know, that's my truth. And how those things can be influenced are essentially, yes, views to some extent. The more views that you get, the more money you get, but also category impacts things. I know a lot of my friends are like beauty YouTubers, fashion YouTubers, lifestyle YouTubers, vloggers. Some do like more controversial content where they're talking about more kind of adult type content, and they get paid less than I do. So there's all these different like factors that go into things. You can't tell how much a YouTuber makes just by their subscriber count or their view count, is what I'm trying to say. And then the last question is, what keeps you motivated and what is the most challenging part? So let's end this video on a positive note. I'm gonna go with challenging first so we can end on a happy note. The most challenging is definitely just being influenced by other people. For better or for worse. I mean, obviously the worst part is the worst. So there can be a lot of negativity on the internet. That's no secret. And I'm a good and grown woman. I'm an adult. I've been through a lot of hard things in my life, harder than somebody calling me a mean name on the internet, but it still hurts. And I also want to say that I think taking in too much positivity can be negative too. If people say, oh my gosh, Latasha, you're so awesome, one, that can inflate your ego. And I want to be mindful to not get too big of a head. That's very important to me. But it can also put a lot of pressure on you. If somebody says, oh my gosh, you teach me so much. Every single one of your videos is so bomb. Like I learned so much from it. And then if one day I just want to do a fun video, like the other day I did a live stream, which was where I got a comment that was like, usually I learn a lot from your videos, but this one I didn't learn anything from. And it made me feel really bad because that was the most that I'd smiled in weeks. I had so much fun on that live, and then I got shot down like that. So it can also put these expectations on you. So it's important to just temper what you're taking in, is what I'm gonna say, good and bad. On the flip side, what keeps me motivated is absolutely you guys. Not necessarily the positive comments like, oh my gosh, you're so awesome. Don't get me wrong, I'm a human. Of course, I like to hear compliments now and again. I'm not saying don't say them if you feel them, if they're on your heart. But what really keeps me motivated is when I get comments saying, I just started my business. I just filed my business paperwork. I just got my first client. I just quit my job. I just got more money at my day job because of advice I heard from you. I sent my client their first report and they loved it. You know, those things, I have literally sat on my couch with my phone, reading my YouTube comments and cried. I've literally just been like, oh my gosh, like it's amazing. It's just really cool. I mean, that's really what I want this channel to be, is sort of that mentor, that big sister kind of advice that I didn't have when I was starting my business. You know, I loved Amy Porterfield's podcast. I listened to a lot of that. I listened to a lot of Gary Vee when I was first starting. But I didn't feel like there were a lot of people that were really like, they were still very far from me. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't 3 years, 5 years ahead of me in business. They were like 10, 20 years ahead of me in business. And I love those people, don't get me wrong. I didn't feel like I had somebody who I could really relate to in that way. And so I really hope that I do that for you all. And it really like, I don't know, that's why I do it. And speaking to the money aspect, I don't want to like promise, but I cannot see myself not doing YouTube. Even if I didn't get paid, even if I only continue to make $15,000 a year or whatever from YouTube, I will still keep doing it. If I didn't get paid at all, of course, I probably wouldn't do 3 videos a week. It just wouldn't be as sustainable, but I would still do it because, well, number one, it's still good for business. And number two, I see the impact it makes and it really lights me up. All right, so I hope this answered some of your questions about starting YouTube channels. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe I will do a part 2. And if you do want to take part in these Q&As, I usually put a call for questions up on Instagram. So be sure that you're following me over there at the Latasha James so you can take part in these kinds of things. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I will see you very soon in a new one. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. Bye.